is fall 2021. That means it is time for the State of Star Wars here at the Resistance Broadcast. Welcome, everybody. I'm John. Thank you so much for joining us on this quarterly check-in on what is going on in our favorite movie franchise called Star Wars. With me, as always, Lacey and James. It should be a fun one because we are right off the heels, 6 days removed from Disney Plus Day. What's the news going on with Rogue Squadron delays, all sorts of stuff like that. It's not going to be obviously an entirely negative episode. We've had some of these State of Star Wars where they're almost 100% positive. So the thing about this episode, which I like that we do, is we just say it's that time of year, it's that season, so let's do the State of Star Wars, and we just say, all right, let's go. We don't make any pre-episode discussions or talking points, or let's cover this, let's cover that. We just see what we're going to talk about. So I'm excited. So, Lacey, you ready to talk about how we're vibing Star Wars?
Yeah, I really look forward to these conversations because I think when we started doing them, we were like, this could be a fun idea. And it's really turned into something that we look forward to, and also people that listen look forward to, because things can change so drastically in a few months with Star Wars, apparently, that it's nice to talk about where things currently are. And then also, if you want, you can go back and see what we thought back in January before we got all the new stuff that we got. So it's just really interesting to compare where we were and where we are and where we're going and that type of thing, because I can't remember if it was this year or last year. Actually, I'm losing my track of time. But when we were talking about how Kathleen Kennedy's was like, oh, we're taking a breath, and we're like, what does that mean? And now we're getting 11 series and all these other things. So it's just super interesting, and I look forward to seeing what you guys think of where we are and where we're going and what's going to happen, and potentially what we've already said is going to be the biggest year for Star Wars.
Yeah, we've been doing the State of Star Wars for 2 or 3 years now, I think.
Yeah,
and it is sometimes funny to look back at that. I agree. I think that was last summer, the whole let's take a breath thing from Kathleen Kennedy.
I think we got to a point where James was like, what does it mean?
Yeah, right. Tell me what you're doing, I think was the exact quote.
Yeah.
But James, State of Star Wars, you excited to do this time capsule version of it?
Yeah.
I feel like you always get a little nervous about these.
I do.
You know, yeah.
Because we did one, I think we just said we did one, and we were like, they're not doing anything. Like, produce something, and then the very next one we did, it felt like it was like, I mean, it wasn't technically, but it was like, it felt like it was like right after they were just like, oh, we're doing 10 shows, and we're like, oh shoot, well that's what they've been working on. I think it's
because we did,
heck yeah,
taking the breath, and then Disney Investor Day was the next one.
Yeah. So then, and it's crazy because the other aspect of this too is we really stick a lot to movies and live action TV, but we always throw in these other angles of what video games and stuff are doing. Right. But I don't know. Yeah, I always get kind of nervous because it when you're looking at the whole broad scheme of how everything's been going, it gets a little much for me. But it's fun to do.
Yeah, and before we get into that, because we're not doing a top segment today, we're just going to spend as much time as we can on this discussion because I think it deserves as much time as we can put towards it. But we are featuring your tweets later, so don't worry about that. But before we get into it, I just want to say, if you like TRB and what we do here, and you have the ability to support us, please consider supporting us on Patreon by going to patreon.com/Resistance Broadcast. You can support us starting at just $2 a month, and as a thank you, patrons of every tier receive exclusive weekly bonus episodes and perks and other cool benefits as you move up the ranks. So your support not only allows us to grow, plan for our future, including celebration, other events we may want to attend when COVID's completely gone, and other stuff like that. But most importantly, you allow us to keep doing what we're doing now. And we put a lot of time and work into this podcast and the other videos and content we make. So your support allows us to keep doing that and put the time in making that better and continuing to do that. So if you are able to support us, thank you so much from us here at CRB. We appreciate that. Again, patreon.com/Resistance Broadcast. Tiers start at $2 a month. Thanks for all your support. But here we go. So let's dive into it right now. It's our discussion. It is simply called The State of Star Wars Fall 2021 Edition.
Obi Wan once thought as you do.
So if you're new to the podcast, every once in a while, we just like to take time that we have to just open it up, like I said at the top. No predetermined expectations of what we're going to talk about here. And that's pretty much it. So I'm going to start things off just not necessarily negative, but, we did touch a little bit on this on Monday, and, people had different views on this. Some people were completely fine with what we got out of Star Wars on Disney Plus Day. I wasn't. And, I see a difference between, like, say, in a different universe, Star Wars was putting out their TV content on the Disney Channel or USA or something, where if you have a cable provider, there you go. It's not a premium service. I'd be like, all right, fine. But the fact that it is a pay-for service and, people have annual subscriptions, they just increased it $10.
Which is a lot by year to year. $10 is a lot.
Yeah, and you're paying this $200 billion company this amount of money for a premium service, and of course it's not just for Star Wars. You're getting other classic Disney movies, other IPs, Marvel movies, Pixar, all that stuff. But some people get it, like me primarily. I get it for my kids to be able to watch like Disney movies, and for me for Star Wars. And because it's a premium service, when you have a promotional day that you're telling your fans you don't want to miss this, trust us, you're going to see clips, you're going to see first looks, you're going to see trailers, you're going to get announcements, and they list all the IPs, and Star Wars is one of them, you're going to expect stuff. And yeah, we got the minute clip of Kenobi, but it was shown last year to investors, and to me that feels kind of like here's a bone. You could take it. Our investors got to see this a year ago. Now you can have it. It's our scraps now. It's just like they were done feeding off of it, so now we get the leftovers in the back of the fridge. That's how that kind of feels to me a little bit.
As if they didn't actually do anything for Disney Plus Day.
Right, exactly.
Right.
They went back to the vault and looked at what they hadn't released and said, go ahead and release that.
Right. And then you have the Boba Fett thing, which is nice, but it's more of a retrospective of this character, and I thought it was great, but it wasn't for the new show necessarily, in terms of like we didn't really get content from the new show. It was just kind of saying like, let's bring you up to speed on who this character is, and that's kind of what we thought that was going to be, and we got that. Other than that, we didn't really get much else from Star Wars. So it to me, it was underwhelming. I feel like, I don't want to say they bait and switched us or they overhyped us or what have you, but I think there's a legitimate, and it's not I'm stomping my feet and I'm all angry and stuff, but I think you can make a fair complaint that maybe we should have gotten a little more. You have 11 shows coming. A lot of them are already done filming for next year. Kenobi's done filming. Andor's done filming. Mandalorian started filming. Boba Fett's coming out next month. Bad Batch is probably almost done being animated. They're probably doing, the voice work. There's stuff that they could have given us, without question. And then maybe, what about just a simple update about the Acolyte? Here's a cast member for the Acolyte. Here's an update on Lando that we haven't spoken about once since we announced it a year ago.
Right.
Here is an update. I know you guys are worried about it. The Rangers of the New Republic, if there's an update for it, give us that. Visions. We're going to do another season. You guys loved it so much. They could have, it didn't have to be trailers. They could have just,
it could have been
hey,
logos.
Fans, we want to acknowledge you exist. You support us. This is a premium service. This is a day dedicated to this service. We want to give you something. And then the cherry on the sundae for me is Kenobi. And I said this on Monday, but I'll rehash it. Before the whole Twitter thread started, which is a bit underwhelming for this big day, especially if you're going to get overshadowed by what DC does, you're not doing well. Because DC hammered us with trailers and they did a great job.
The fandom has been very good the past few years.
Yeah. So before that whole thread started, Kenobi was already trending, and it had been since the night before when that minute clip had leaked and took the wind out of that sail. Over anything else. So Kenobi's not only the number one Star Wars product, it's the number one anticipated Disney Plus product.
Mm-hmm.
If you're Disney and you're just off the heels of that poor performance report for Q4, the stock arrow is pointing down. People are yelling for Bob Chapek's head. How is that man not demanding a trailer to come out? He has to be saying, "I want that thing promoted." It's the golden goose. It's the thing everybody's rallying around. You have one thing that Star Wars fans in 2021 are all rallying around. That's hard to come by. And they don't do it. And they give us something that they put out last year. It feels weird. And I can't help but think, because when I said, when I look across the aisle and Marvel is announcing shows for things I've never even heard of, they're giving you footage. They're giving you new logos. They're at least giving you a dedicated slot to each thing with some text, some sort of narrative, some sort of context. It's not a Disney thing. To me, it's a Lucasfilm thing. So that's where I'm starting here. I don't know if it's a marketing issue. I don't know if it's production issues because we got the Rogue Squadron problems. I'm not trying to be negative, but we also have to be realistic too. We can't just all, get in line and be like, everything you do is amazing. It's great. So that's where I'm starting. And I know you guys have different feelings about Disney Plus Day, but I'm curious how you guys feel about the state of Star Wars. And I think that's the hottest thing right now is what we're off the heels of. We can expand this, into other stuff, of course, that's going on in Star Wars. Like High Republic's rocking and rolling. That's good. There's a lot of other good things happening. But that's where I wanted to kick it off because it's the most recent stuff. So whoever wants to take the ball, let's have some fun. Talk about the state of Star Wars.
James, why don't you go next?
Yeah, I'll jump in because we kind of had this discussion even before we started a little bit, and there's this push and pull happening with me that's like, what did I expect out of Disney Plus Day? Personally, I didn't think we were going to get much. I saw it as this promotional day where they were going to have so many other things on their plate because they're doing Pixar and Marvel and just other, their own brand like Disney Plus just in general, a movie or something that's coming, a new show or something that's coming specifically to that platform. And what did I really expect out of Star Wars as someone who pays attention to how they announce things? I just generally didn't think they were going to do much. But there is a lot of excitement around the fan base saying, we think these things are going to happen. And then on the day, you're seeing that every other platform, whether it's say you're a fan of Pixar, say you're a fan of Marvel or whatever, even if you're a fan of Jeff Goldblum, if they have some sort of connection to Disney, it seemed like they were getting a shout out that day. But Star Wars was not. And Star Wars got stuff, but it felt very much like, hey, we're giving everybody in the class cookies. You get a cookie. And I'm like, great, that's awesome. And then everybody else in the class got 5 cookies. So at what point are you complaining that everybody else got more cookies than you? Are you complaining that you got a free cookie? It's like, but
somebody already ate our cookie a year ago.
Yeah, you have to remember that someone licked that cookie a year ago, and then they're giving you the licked cookie.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you want to get into stuff like that,
making you pay to see it, making you pay.
Yeah, and then making you pay for said cookie.
That was another angle that I didn't actually encounter. I know that the video for the Kenobi thing leaked, and so a lot of people saw it, who weren't obviously Disney Plus subscribers. So I was going into it with that mindset. When I saw that it was actually on the platform, I just thought in my head, like, oh, I'm just treating this like, or they're just treating it kind of like a trailer behind the scenes thing or whatever. This is a way to access and promote it. But forgetting the fact that it was not public was a big deal. And I was like, oh, that is a really good point. That is definitely hard.
I explained it to Matt.
Still ended up
like,
seeing
so
it, but like in a pirated manner, you know?
Right. And the other thing is, like, I was explaining to Matt. So Matt is not into Star Wars at all. It's not his thing. I said they released a new teaser for Kenobi. He goes, oh, that's amazing. You like Kenobi. You're excited for that. I said, yeah. He goes, where'd they put it? I said, Disney Plus. He goes, wait, they put a commercial on Disney Plus that you have to pay to watch for a show that's out next year? Like, to like a normal person, why would you pay to watch a trailer? Like, that's crazy. So to me, yeah, go ahead, James. Go ahead. Finish
well, I was going to say, just to wrap up kind of my thought process on Disney Plus and kind of how everything rolled out. There's part of me that was like, what did I expect? I didn't expect much at all. And what I got was like a Kenobi trailer, and I got this retrospective Boba Fett, and you know, a couple other things here and there was like toy announcements and stuff, like a cool Temple Guard double-bladed lightsaber and stuff that was released. And it's like, that stuff's cool. Yeah, cool. Disney Plus Day. That was a fun day. But it really sucks as a Star Wars fan when you're looking at everything else and going like, holy crap, you know? Like, look at all this other stuff that they announced. And you didn't do almost anything for Star Wars, and anything that you did do had this like asterisk, like it was behind a paywall, or people had already seen it a year ago, or this really wasn't anything cool for Book of Boba Fett. It actually was just like about the history of Star Wars, and it was marketed like a Book of Boba Fett thing. They just kind of mentioned Book of Boba Fett at the end, but it was really just about one. It could have been about anybody, you know? It could have been like the history of Darth Vader, you know? And it's like, okay, cool. I mean, that's neat, but it didn't feel like it was really adding to Disney Plus's. I don't know. But I get that angle of like, everybody else got 5 cookies, and I'm like, I want more cookies. Like, what's going on here?
When you say cookies, it reminds me of that Christmas episode of The Office when there's the 2 Christmas parties, Angela's and then the one Pam and
Margarita machine
Karen do. And Kevin's sitting there with a cookie in Angela's party, and there's really no one else there. And Daryl walks over, and Daryl is Marvel and Angela is Star Wars. And he's like, hey, when you're all done with your meeting, why don't you come to the break room? We're having a party.
Yeah.
That's how it feels. It's like, we always like say like, yeah, Star Wars is better than Marvel. We love Star Wars better than Marvel. But Marvel is running way better than Star Wars, and it's just not even close. And people are like, well, Star Wars is like going to be marketed different, because it's like, yeah, they're going to be marketed different because they're just not doing as good of a job. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah,
like,
it definitely does feel like, especially currently, like after
and Lacey, I want to
get
you in here.
Yeah, on the cuffs of Disney Plus Day, it does feel like there are people making excuses for Star Wars and stuff, as far as like, we need to be able to appreciate the content when it comes out and all this sort of stuff, but it's like, or it needs to slow down too much too fast kind of thing. And it's like, I don't understand that when you have this other property that's very clearly churning out content after content after content, you know, and nobody's blinking an eye at it as being too much. I mean, people are saying that, but it's not really. Everybody's really happy with too much over there, you know? Yeah, Lacey.
Let me ask you this, Lacey. You've done social media for brands and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. They pay attention to like the pulse of fans online, right? So
oh yeah, you're listening every day. That's a huge part of social media. Yeah.
So when there's these chunk of fans who are like, I'm just gonna get in line and back every decision the corporate side of that studio makes, because one day they'll like my tweet, or one day Matt Martin will reply to me or something. It's like them doing that is enabling them to be like, just throw those idiots a bone. Like they'll soak that up. That's all they need and stuff. It's just like that's how I feel. It's just like we're all like, yeah, great. Oh, yeah, great. Oh, the investors got that last year. Give it to us now. That's all we need. Like, come on. Jeez.
Yeah, I think for me, I think I'm even one step past you, John, where I thought overall the Disney Plus Day was very underwhelming. Like, not just for Star Wars, for everything. I think Marvel got announcements. They got logos, which they normally get from Kevin Feige for San Diego Comic-Con, which they would have used during their panel this summer if it happened, which it didn't. So they just saved it for this. I felt like all these announcements and posts were just repurposed stuff from other events that they would have done if those events happened. I think that if you look at brands like DC, who killed the fandom thing the past 2 years, they have people come in, they do interviews, they do all this stuff. I think Netflix knocked it out of the park last month with their To-Doom thing, where they talked about what is coming for literally the next 6 months on Netflix. They gave you trailers, they gave you interviews, they gave you behind-the-scenes stuff. They had shows that weren't even recorded yet, and they had videos with the actors from the set saying, hey, we're just starting production today, and we don't have much to show you, but here's what we do have to show you, and here's what, you know, fun content that we're interviewing each other and stuff. Like, it was very engaging, and it was very much nonstop. And this is like the organizer side of me, is they had a schedule. It was literally like from 2 to 4, we're talking about these 4 properties. From,
That's
you know,
legit.
11 to 12, we're talking about, and they kept reminding you throughout the event so that you wouldn't turn it off, which, by the way, was a streamed video event, which I don't know why Disney wouldn't stream some type of an event like they did with Disney Investor Day last year. I just felt overall that making your Disney Plus Day about, hey, we're giving out hats at Disney World that only people that pay get the hats. We're doing inflatables at random locations throughout the US of, hey, take a picture with our inflatable. And we're doing a Twitter thread where we're going to thread everything down in one long thing so that if you share any of the specific tweets, it sends you right up to the freaking top of that thread. And it is the most annoying thing ever when you're sharing stuff with people that they're like, wait, what is this? And you're like, oh, you have to go down 17 clicks to get to what you want to share.
Yeah.
They also tagged like every wrong person, and it was just, I'm sorry, it was a mess. I'm gonna be honest, it was a mess. As a marketing person, I was sitting there like going, oh my gosh. And all I could see were people being like, oh, you know, these social people need more credit, blah, blah. Of course. And I'm sure they're doing their best. But at the same time, there is nothing wrong with providing feedback. There is nothing wrong with providing criticism to either an event or to anything, because they might not even realize that what they're doing is wrong or that it's being viewed in the way that it's being viewed. I think there's nothing wrong with voicing your opinion. I totally am against harassing and bullying and stuff like that, which we did see some of that,
Of course.
which is always going to happen. But I think with anything like this, it is totally fair game as a customer, a paying customer, to provide your feedback. And I don't think that falls into entitlement, which I think I saw a lot in the Star Wars fandom of people basically saying that if you were disappointed as a Star Wars fan, it meant you were entitled. And I don't think that's the case, because from the moment they announced...
That's lazy.
Yeah, from the moment they announced Disney Plus Day, if you go back in all their marketing, it was very much, we're going to have reveals. We're going to have trailers. It's going to be a day-long thing. It's huge. You can't wait. I think one of their emails even had the headline, "You're not going to regret this." Like, save the date.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, we talked about that. We said they better deliver if they're going to say that.
Yeah,
Like,
and this was prior to the Netflix thing, and then even after the Netflix event. So that's kind of where my viewpoint was coming from compared to where James was, which I totally get where James was coming from and why he's like, see, I told you guys, because that's how he felt. But after sitting through the Netflix event, I was like, there is no way they can walk away from this event as someone in the industry that would watch this and be like, wow, look what our competitors are doing, and say, let's just put out a Twitter thread. Like, to me, it's just crazy that you would even have a meeting where you would decide that's the case.
The thing that frustrates me the most I mean, the seeing, and this is, the online bubble, and not everyone's dialed into that, and that's a good thing. But, seeing, the fans push back against fellow fans who are just expressing disappointment, like
who are just excited about what they love. Yeah.
Speaking on behalf of the $200 billion mega, eating up other IPs movie studio. Like, they don't need you to be their advocate. They're going to be okay if I'm like, well, that was disappointing. So that's ridiculous in itself. And then the other one is just kind of like, whatever they give us is enough. Like, they don't owe you anything. It's like, you don't understand like how consumerism works. Like, we're paying for a product. It's a premium service. Like, the other streaming services are not doing this. I mean, it's just this like weird asinine thing that they think they're on the right side by saying these things, and it's just not reality. It like, there's degrees to this. I can in an adult way say, like, as a consumer, I would, based on how you marketed this, I was hoping I'd get a look at some of the things that you're going to be showing me. I think that's okay to say. You just increased it $10. It's $80 for the service for an annual. That means I'm invested in this for the next 12 months. I want to check out when you're bringing it to me. I think that's fair to say. But then, like, you get a blanket sweeping thing saying, like, if you say anything, you're a complainer, you're a whiner, you're entitled, stuff. It's like, no, it's called just voicing your opinion, and that's okay. There's rational and healthy ways to do that. But this whole like slamming your fellow fans in the name of defending the Disney, like they are they need your help or something, is so absurd to me. I don't even understand where that angle even comes from.
Yeah,
that bothered me today.
Yeah, I'm not really sure about that, but all I can say is that some people just like to voice certain opinions, and that's fine. But I think people also need to remember that all Star Wars fans are all different ages, all different backgrounds, all different experiences. But a lot of people in the Star Wars fandom have been in this for a long time. They have a strong connection to this franchise and to this fandom, and they live it and they breathe it, and they just want what's best for it. And they want to be able to brag about it and be pumped about it and be proud. And you can't do that if they're not giving you anything to be proud about. So when, kind of going back to what you said, James, with the whole cookie thing, like when you see things like Marvel and other brands getting all this stuff, you want to have that moment too. And I understand the kind of frustration or disappointment of like, oh, dang, I wish we would have gotten something. But there's also something to be said with what you brought up with was that they showed this video a year ago to people that were investors. So there's this level of, okay, so if I'm rich and I'm investing into the company, I get to see this video a year earlier than the people that actually are building up this franchise for me to make money from. So I think there's this level of like, wait, why do I have to wait a year to watch said video? But that's going neither here nor there. But anyway, so as for the Star Wars stuff, the sizzle reel, I love seeing Ewan McGregor. I love hearing him talk about Kenobi. I can hear him talk about Kenobi every day, all day, because he loves and breathes and lives this character. And I'm so pumped to see him back. I was excited to see Deborah Chow as well, talking about her experience and what's to come, and to mention Kaden. I loved seeing Ewan training, just to see him being active and like having a good time. I said this on Monday a little bit, but the video to be a minute long was kind of a disappointment, only because, as always, you want to see more. I was hoping for more kind of behind the scenes stuff. It's just felt like, to me, knowing that it's the investor video, that they didn't have much to show, so they showed concept art. And I feel like, James, you made a really good point. I think that this was something that they had in a folder on a computer somewhere. They said they needed something and they pulled it and threw it on a drive.
It's not even behind the scenes because they didn't start filming that until 5 months after that clip came out.
Yeah, I
Like-
know some people had said that it's because Ewan doesn't have a beard, so they must have recorded that interview recently, which could be the case. But I was just very surprised. And then especially at the end of the day, when we got a video with a bunch of logos in it, like Bad Batch and Andor, to not get any announcement from those things when you got everything else. And James, I think you made a really good point with me earlier during Disney Plus Day that Omega had her own Disney Plus Day shirt. They released her plush Lulu in the Disney Plus store, but yet we got nothing for season 2 of Bad Batch, whether it be
to clarify,
Filoni
there's a
message or anything.
T-shirt of Omega like pulling her arrow back, and
Right.
it says Disney Plus Day, as if
Right.
Omega has something to do with Disney Plus Day. And I was like, the only thing that's happening here right now, if they don't announce anything Bad Batch season 2 related, is that they put a piece of content that already existed, like putting
Sure.
Rapunzel from Tangled on a shirt that says Disney Plus Day. Well, Tangled's been on Disney Plus for a long time now. Like,
Sure.
what does that have
Sure.
to do with today and being excited about the brand? I guess technically, if you subscribe to Disney Plus, you get this character, but I mean, they could have done that with any character. Why is Omega on a T-shirt?
Why is her plush the other thing?
Yeah, why? It seems very much like you wanted to advertise some of the other stuff and it just didn't happen. And we can get into those discussions of what we felt was pulled, like, because obviously in that thing, you know, you see the Book of Boba Fett and you saw Andor and you saw
I think
Bad
they
Batch
released that
season 2.
early.
I'll just say this. We're recording this in advance. The day of Disney Plus Day, one of the same people who confirmed the Anakin stuff we reported on said there is a trailer for the Obi Wan show. They have one. They just didn't put it out. And that there's a poster and that they saw the poster.
Yeah,
There's posters for other stuff. The Boba Fett Legacy special had a poster.
And let's not forget, like, James, you brought up that minute visual teaser thing where they showed all the icons.
Yeah.
And Andor
That's
was there.
that's what we were
Bad
just
Batch
talking
was
about.
there. Yeah. So everything else on there has either already been released, literally released, or was talked about on Disney Plus Day, except for those Star Wars shows.
It's just weird. It just seems like it was like a last minute pull to me.
And like, we don't like, there's some people who are also, you know, bloggers and reporters and scoopers or whatever out there that we do not communicate with, who reported similar things that we did. Something just seems a little off. And I don't know if, you know, what the story is. I don't want to get too far down that because, you know, whatever, it came out, it happened. We heard Kenobi, they put out something for Kenobi, turned out being an old thing. What reasons why, I can't wrap my head around that. But I mean, we do have other stuff we can get into. I mean, we don't have to hammer them on Disney Plus Day overall, but like the Rogue Squadron thing, I mean, you know, James, I'll just put you on the spot. Like, off air, you were like, I'm always giving them chances and stuff, and then it's just like, again, man, really? With this? And it's just...
Like, you
know,
want to be the cheerleader. You want to be that person that's constantly defending
so,
them. Yeah.
So my analogy with this, and people who are sports fans will understand this, like, if you're a sports fan of a team, you spend a lot of your time angry.
And defending them?
Hammering them, being like, I can't believe that coach, he made that decision. I can't believe that player made that play. And you're... Because you're so obsessed, but it's fun to just do that and get involved and be the Monday morning quarterback and be like, can't believe you did that. Because you love the team so much that you call the radio shows and you get in arguments with friends about it, and it's all part of it. And that's kind of how it is with Star Wars. Like, I'm hammering them right now because I love Star Wars so much. It's not like there are people who go on YouTube and stuff or Twitter who hammer Star Wars because they want to kill Star Wars and they want Star Wars to fail.
Yeah.
I want Star Wars to do really well. I love Star Wars so much. I want it to do great. I'm constantly rooting for them. So when stuff like this happens, I'm like, what is going on? So James,
So
that.
Yeah, it feels kind of like that, John, except there's one thing here, is that no matter how much you like root for a team and you know they're gonna suck, like, you know, hey man, we lose every year, I know it, but I root for them and I want them to win. They still go out and play just as many games as everybody else.
Correct.
And
Great
right
point,
now,
James.
right now, Lucasfilm is out this season. And they were out last season. You know, it's like all these other teams, it's not that they're winning, they're playing. We're not playing as Star Wars fans. It feels like they're not participating in, like, check out the NFL this year. And they're showing off all the teams. And it's like, your team isn't in that video. Why isn't my team in the video? You know, it doesn't make any sense.
And they're
not
they're
part
not
of the
announcing
NFL?
games. Yeah, they're not.
Are they not a
games.
part? Like, it seems like every time we think this is okay, maybe they've been building up for this, and maybe this is the game that they're going to participate in. They don't show up last minute, and every other team is represented but yours. That's what feels like it's happening, and it's frustrating when you're seeing everybody else play and have fun. And, you know, those memes are out there too, where people are like, you know, like the Conan looking in the window, like Star Wars fans looking over at Marvel and stuff. I get that. And it's kind of a joke, but also, is it a joke? Like, it's kind of serious. Like, but where were you? You know, what were you doing? What's the story? Why don't you have content? Like, it's cool. It's cool if you want to say, hey, here's the situation. You know, my grandma died. It was a big day. I had a terrible weekend, you know, or whatever. It's like, it's cool, man. You know, and you can kind of pass it off. But it does feel like you're not even getting the excuse. At some point, it's like, I don't know how to deal with this. And I think part of it too is I'm getting to that point now with Star Wars, and we've talked about this a couple times with different things. They can make announcements and say, Taika Waititi's doing this movie. And I'm like, that sounds like it would be a good idea. I hope it happens. It's like, I don't believe Lucasfilm anymore with a lot of stuff. And it's also now to a point where it's like, Disney Plus Day is coming up. And they're going to be doing announcements and surprises and exciting turns and reveals and all this stuff for all of their content for the next year on Disney Plus. You don't think they're going to mention Star Wars? And I go, I don't think they're going to mention Star Wars.
And that's what you said. And John and I were the schmucks that were like, no, we believe in you.
So it goes hand
Jilted
in hand.
again by my lover.
It goes hand in hand. It's not like I was correct, and now that we see it in post tense, it makes sense.
Sure.
And you guys should have known that. Because in reality, it feels like, based on what everybody else got, you guys should have been right. There should have been, bare minimum, that Kenobi thing that was 1 minute long, that should have been a 4 minute long video, and it should have been about Kenobi, Book of Boba Fett, Andor, and The Mandalorian Season 3. And just had people talking, little random
footage
things.
Aside. How about a 30-second video from Leslie Headland via Zoom saying like, hey guys, just want you to know we're starting filming on The Acolyte next summer and you can look forward to seeing this. And she holds up like a blaster or a lightsaber and we're all like, and it takes minimal production, minimal effort, just something. Like, it doesn't have to be trailers. It doesn't have to be, you know what I'm saying?
We could literally do this all day. We could come up with examples of how crazy it is or examples of comparisons. I mean, John Mulaney and Adam Sandberg got... Andy Sandberg, are like doing their own Zoom thing, and the only thing they really had to talk about was the fact that the property existed and that there was a poster. And it's like, okay, well, then I don't feel like there are any excuses. Like,
the thing that I keep coming back to, unfortunately, is like, if you look at the track record so far, with the exception of like the Boba Fett and Mandalorian trailers every once in a while, The only time we've gotten footage from properties for Star Wars in the past 2 years was Disney Investor Day, which is Disney Investor Day, and a reel that was shown during an investor meeting. So it's like they're more willing to put work in on footage, behind the scene reels, and all this other stuff when it relates to investors than it actually being for the fans during an event that's supposed to be for fans.
But again, this is a Lucasfilm thing, not a Disney thing.
No, but I'm saying that's specific to Lucasfilm. Like Marvel will put stuff out, Pixar puts stuff out, all these other things put stuff out for fans. Why is it Lucasfilm only seems to do stuff for investors? Because those are where those things are stemming from, with the exception of, again, the Boba Fett trailer and the Mandalorian trailer, which those shows are about to come out.
Yeah, it's so crazy. For this event, I was very right. But for Investors Day, I was very wrong. I was like, I don't know. What are they going to do? It's like an earnings meeting, but it's like a live stream. Okay.
Yeah.
You can't imagine much. And they drop like 10 new shows. I remember everybody tweeting 10 question mark? Like anything with a 10. Like
we haven't heard anything about Droid Story. We haven't heard anything about
So there was another weird angle this too, where I was thinking, well, maybe there's a reason they're not talking about some of these shows. It would have been nice, but maybe it's because none of these shows are coming in the next year. So like Ahsoka, they didn't talk at all about it, but maybe that's because nothing will have happened for Ahsoka in the next year, and maybe next year on Disney Plus Day would be the day to expect something for Ahsoka. But even then, like, we have 4 shows coming out this year, and you didn't mention any of them.
Right.
You mentioned one. You did the 1 minute Kenobi thing, but you didn't talk about season 3 of Mandalorian. You didn't talk about Book of Boba Fett, and you didn't talk about Andor. And you didn't talk about Bad Batch, which those are all confirmed shows to be coming out this year. So it's five shows. You missed 4 of them.
Yeah, and I've heard this from a few people. They're like, well, they know they got you as Star Wars fans, so it doesn't matter. They don't need to market to you. I don't know that that's true anymore. Like, I feel like the old generation of Star Wars fans may be sort of checking out now that the actors they liked are leaving, and that's fine. You need to invigorate the kids who are coming up, who, they loved Rey and stuff, but now Rey's gone away for a little bit. You need to give these kids a reason to want to talk to their friends about Star Wars. You need to get it in their faces and stuff. And unless these kids are going to Galaxy's Edge every week, that's not happening. So, and there's not a new animated show out right now with, the Bad Batch when it's on hiatus or whatever. And even that, it's kind of connected to the Clone Wars. So the Resistance, they tried that. It's just like, I think they take the Star Wars fan maybe for granted a little. I'm not sure if that's the case, and I don't want to harp on this part of this too long, because there are obviously good things, and I think the Book of Boba Fett is going to be very, very good. I'm very excited for that.
Oh, I can't wait. Yeah.
I want to end the conversation like talking about that and positive things, but the one other thing that does concern me that I want to bring up is like we said, the Rogue Squadron thing, and that getting delayed really is a punch to the gut, because it gives the haters fuel, and it makes our argument harder to make that things are being run well.
Right.
And it's just it like I said, it gives them stuff stuff to stand on, and and reinvigorates them and gives them more validity and that sort of thing. And they jump for joy when those sort of things happen, and it kills us. So on one hand, it's like, yeah, good, delay it because we have the Disney Plus lifeboat of shows, and get it right, and that's fine. But it shouldn't be that shouldn't be happening. Like,
right.
I don't know. It's just, you had so long. This isn't one of those like, we're signing Patty Jenkins to do a Star Wars movie. We need you to have it out in a year and a half, Patty. It's like, no, you have 3.5 years to get it out. And the excuse they gave us was crap, that it was scheduling and all that stuff. Like, that doesn't make none of that makes any logical sense. So that's very frustrating. And it might be time for I like everything Kathleen Kennedy has done. She had one of the hardest jobs ever, which is taking over a company from the most brilliant creator in our lifetime in this past century for
Right.
movies. And she did a great job, in my opinion. She turned out excellent movies because she's a wonderful producer, one of the greatest of all time, just under Kevin Feige. But in terms of maybe being a president of studio, maybe she's not that great at that. And that's okay. So while I love everything she's done, it's not black and white here. I can also say maybe it's time for someone who's better at being a president of a studio to take over. And I think the more these examples pop up, the more I'm leaning that way. And it doesn't mean I need to be clear about this, because if I tweeted this, people put it in a certain bubble. But just to be clear, there's nuance. Love everything she's done. But in terms of running the studio, maybe there's someone who could do it better. And maybe it's time for new leadership at Lucasfilm.
We've talked about that too before. Like at this point now, she's been in charge for going on a decade.
10 years, yeah.
Yeah. So, so even at this point now, if you were part of maybe it's time she moves on and we get someone new in, you don't have to be. That doesn't make you a get rid of Kathleen Kennedy supporter. Like it can kind of be like hey, that was an awesome decade. I really like the stuff. I just want to maybe see some change it up. I want to see maybe what somebody else can do. Maybe the next decade really sucks. We don't know. But like at this point, I think it's kind of at that line where we'd be willing to move. And it's funny too. I was going to say, John, I was trying to jump in and I couldn't quite read because we're over Skype or whatever. But I was going to say, when I mentioned earlier that I don't really trust when they say things, it made me think that now I think of official Lucasfilms announcements as trade announcements. Like if the Hollywood Reporter said so-and-so was cast in a movie or something.
Yeah?
That's how I feel. I'm like, that's pretty official. I can get excited behind that, but also we'll see. I shouldn't have to feel that way about the official announcement. Like, we are going to make this game. It is going to happen. Is like, I should be excited about that. But all of Lucasfilm and all Star Wars related properties at this point, I hear it and I am starting to go, that sounds cool. We'll see, as if a trade was reporting it. Even a reliable trade like Deadline says, Jedi Fallen Order 2 is coming next year, or whatever. I'm like, that sounds great. I trust Deadline, but we'll see. There's this air now that I don't like having that. But Marvel makes an official announcement. That's freaking happening. Like nine times out of 10, and I don't mean that just the way people say it, 9 times out of 10. I literally mean if they had 10 properties, 9 of them are going flawlessly, and one of them might be like some rewrites on Multiverse of Madness. It's like, but the other 9 are flawless.
I think this sounds crazy because we obviously did make Solo 2 happen, and that's a social media campaign and whatever that kind of just created it on its own, like because people liked the stupid shirt we made. But so that was a natural thing that developed. But and as I say that, and I hope they do more Solo and stuff, I feel like Lucasfilm or whoever ends up taking over, if they do, or if it's a Disney decision, needs to create much more distance between themselves and the fans online. I think the accessibility and stuff like that makes people think that they have more power. But I also, at the same time, you feel like based on some of the decisions they make are very reactionary and based on what's hot in the moment, like bringing in the Game of Thrones guys, because that was white hot and everyone loved that show. They probably went, oh, they have a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. Everyone seems to love them. Get them. Then they put out a dud season 8. All fans are like, screw those guys. They stink. And then we never hear from them again. then it's the same thing with Patty Jenkins, Wonder Woman. Yeah, we're gonna get an amazing woman director. Get her in here. She's only done 3 movies. I don't care. Get her in here. 84 comes out. Got problems with Rogue Squadron. It's just, I feel like I'm not saying it's like a lazy.
And I think that could go into Rian Johnson too, because you have Rian Johnson who made this movie that not everybody liked, but he's very talented. He did a good job. He cared. He, Knives Out comes out. It's gangbusters. People loved it. Nothing. And I think that's reactionary to The Last Jedi. On the other side of that equation, like they should have. His
the
first
Rian
movie
Johnson
should be out
angle
already.
is so crazy, because even in that case, I get it that he was divisive. Like, it was maybe a bad movie in some regard to some fans, but it made a lot of money, and it had good reviews, from like critics and stuff. Maybe not from fans, but from critics and stuff. And Rian Johnson has continued to put out movies that people enjoy. So it's like every one of
nominated movies.
Yeah, all of his movies have been well received, for the most part. You know what I'm getting at here.
Yeah.
So he's even like an odd liar out, where like he's even having issues coming back to Star Wars. Besides
when
some of these other people,
he's done everything right. Yeah.
Yeah, where you could kind of understand somebody like having only done 3 movies, and that third movie was like a complete bomb, and they're like, "Oh man, maybe we didn't think this through, and maybe they don't know how to handle this." Like, what was the Boba Fett guy? Josh Trank.
Josh Trank.
He had like a lot of success with like one movie, and everybody was all about him, but the fame hit too quick. There's too much pressure, big studios and stuff, and he didn't know how to handle it. So, but Lucasfilm was involved with that person, so it's like, I don't know if they're not vetting, but the thing is like they did vet. They got Rian Johnson. He's great, and yet still it didn't pan out. And it's like, I don't understand what's going on here.
At least
Sometimes.
Rian Johnson with The Last Jedi seemed like an inspired pick, because he wasn't one of those like blockbuster household names. Whereas today, everyone's like, Eternals comes out. Chloe Zhao's got to direct a Star Wars now. I don't care what it is. Give it to her. And then those rumors come out, and then Hollywood Reporter's like, she's not directing Star Wars. But it's just like, it almost seems like whatever the popular thing that's going on online, like whoever's working for Kathleen Kennedy, like scours
the
that.
Dune
like,
guy. Everyone kept saying everything about Dune. They were like, he should do a Star Wars. Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah. But it's like, and I don't know if this is how it works. I don't know if Kathleen Kennedy does this stuff herself, or if she has people who does this for her, but it's like, get the pulse of what's going on out there. And if everyone's like, we want this person because they did this, they're like, get them. And is it that easy? And then like, because it just seems like Patty, like if 4 years ago you're like, we want a woman to direct a Star Wars movie, like everyone was like, Patty Jenkins. Sure enough, who's the one they get? Patty Jenkins. Not some director who's probably amazing that you've never heard of, that if you did a little more research than looking at, yes, or like, who I personally never heard of before The Mandalorian, and she's freaking amazing. But it just seems like it's just one of those things like, what's the bubble talking about? Bring him in. Like, it's just like Patty Jenkins just seems like that obvious type of pick. Like we need an amazing female director. Who is
I would agree
Patty
with that.
Jenkins. Get her
Sure.
in. Like, so that's why the Rian Johnson one, like, was like, wow, that's an inspiring pick. Like the JJ one is the opposite, because they're like, wow, he did that for Star Trek. Let's see if he wants to work with us. Now JJ Abrams is like big time, so that's different. But it just, I'm not saying, I hate using the word lazy, but it just seems like they're way more concerned about what the pulse of trending names are or whatever. And you see that in the recent examples, like the Game of Thrones guys, and then Patty Jenkins and whoever else. Oh, and even Leslie Headland, like Russian Doll, was like really popular online. And then people are like, oh, she's getting a streaming series now for Star Wars. It's just, I don't know. I feel like they maybe, and this goes against everything about, me pushing for Solo, but if Solo has to take a bullet and never be made, fine. If Star Wars is going to be better for it, I think Lucasfilm should make they've done this with like people like us, like podcasters and bloggers and stuff. Like they got rid of the whole community section on StarWars.com, which was, a little disappointing to see. And they've clearly made some separation in that regard, which is fine, But I think in terms of like fans in general, like I would make even larger separation between them and fans. Like I feel like there's something about the ease of accessibility that, like I hate to say it, like PR people, being that closely connected to fans and stuff on social media. I don't know that that's a good thing. Because they can do their job from a distance and put their ear to the ground. So I don't know. I don't know.
Not
what
only
you guys
that,
think about that,
there is something to be said to social media algorithms in the way that they operate, and that you're only seeing certain viewpoints. I think something I learned in the past few weeks is people have been doing those like little chirply like circle things where people are. It's basically your echo chamber. It's all the people you interact with.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that I saw a lot of people were the same people on everybody's thing, which is fine. People are friends. That makes sense. But if you look at people that were sharing those things from different companies and organizations, you're like, okay, well, then that means you're only getting these viewpoints. You're not getting anybody else's. So I think there's this there needs to be an understanding that with the power of social media and the way things work now with muting and blocking and tailoring your feed to you, even if you're going to social media to get feedback, you might just be getting one viewpoint and one small piece of it.
There might be something,
translate.
the bigger content there would be like YouTube for brands and Twitter for brands. Like it's
Sure.
not a brand signing up for a YouTube account and then getting it verified, but just the way that information comes into that brand's feed should be probably processed differently as far as like, like it's not just about blocking people or something like that. 'Cause once you start to get into that, you're not really getting the vibe of a fan base. So they need to come up with something like that is a little bit more like on the whole, like this is what your I don't know, this is how this word is being used on social media or something, like your company's name, this is how it's being used positively or negatively.
A lot of services do
kind of
show
thing.
that. Yeah, a lot of services do show that, where they show you like the negative versus the positive reaction and stuff. But I think it's just one of those things you just gotta, I agree with you, John. I think there needs to be more listening, but a wider, broader listening, but also kind of a step back disconnect, because I don't think you see executives from Marvel engaging with people as much as Star Wars or people from Disney or people from
I
wherever.
liked it. I thought it was cool, like when people could be like, hey Pablo, is this creature? And he's like, no man, this is this. And I'm like, that's cool. But we can't, like, there's never a line in the sand, and then it like gets to a point where Pablo like flips his lid and what he had to go through with all like the like people taking him out of context and writing articles about things he said that he didn't mean, and then like, Matt Martin getting pissed off at people and he never gets pissed off at people, and it's just I feel bad because they have every right to be online and stuff, but it's just like when people feel like they have that accessibility to them, I feel like they want to be nice to people and stuff, and people take advantage of people being nice, and you see it all the time. I just feel like let the professionals and the creators be over here, and we can be over here, and we can still have a great experience, but let's space it out a little. I don't know if that makes any sense, or if maybe the audience completely disagrees with me, but I just feel like I want them to be away from us and like do your thing and give, be more open with us in terms of the official info you're giving us, but like on the social media day-to-day interaction stuff, I feel like that should be limited. I feel like they need to flip it Give us more of the actual stuff that you're making.
I want official updates. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, give us more of the official stuff you're doing. Let us in more that way, that you via you controlling it, and limit the, you know, intimate interaction online and social media and stuff like that. And that's my perspective. I completely understand if people don't see it that way, but that's just how I see it. But let's we're
Can we
gonna
talk
go
about
over
how
our
excited
time
I
here,
am for a book of Boba Fett?
yeah,
Because
so
I
good.
am
Yeah,
super excited.
good stuff is coming, and like I've said on Monday, and I'll say it now, they are very good at connecting all this stuff and making it feel like it is a real galaxy far, far away, and they do it maybe better than they ever have before. And the Book of Boba Fett is just over a month away, and I am very excited for this series. And beyond that, we're 6 months away from Celebration, and hopefully the COVID stuff keeps trending the right way, and everyone who's able to go to that is able to go to that. And we're going to do everything we can to get stuff that we're covering out to you, almost like on a POV experience for some of the things, to make you feel like you're there with us, because I know a lot of people can't go. So I'm excited about Celebration and getting to be around fans again and recharging those positive batteries. And then Kenobi's going to come and go, and we have a lot to look forward to, and there is a lot of good. So I didn't want to make this an all negative thing. This is just, sometimes we have a State of Star Wars where it's all positive, and people say like, you guys just love everything. And sometimes we do these where it's like we get critical, but in a respectful way, I'd like to think. And people say like, you just hate everything. So it just, it's touch and go. It depends. But yeah, so go ahead, James. I was gonna say, like, we can talk, whatever you want to talk about, what's going on, but yeah.
Well, I wrote down all the different aspects that I could think of, and it usually ends up in our State of Star Wars that we go so much on like live action. But just to look at the whole thing really quick, as give my quick opinions, and if you guys have different opinions, you can throw them in there. But like animation, I just want to throw it out there. There has basically been a season of an animated show every year. Rebels ran from 2014 to 2017, then Resistance 2018 to 2019, Clone Wars in 2020, and Bad Batch in 2021. So it's basically a season of a show every year. I feel like my gut says it shouldn't be that hard to maybe get to a point where you're doing 2 animated shows a year.
Marvel announced, I think, 4 animated series today.
Because I'm thinking technically you are doing 4 live action shows. So just hire more people, broaden your animation department, and spread out their workload. Just bring on more people to work on those properties. You just need, some specific people looking over both and making sure that everything's running well.
That would be a cool Disney Plus thing that they could have done, is introduce us to the new head of animation and say like, Dave Filoni carried us for blah, blah, blah years. Now let's meet so-and-so and what they're going to be working on. Just bring us in again, like I said, that way. And you're right, though. They have been consistently doing that, but it would be interesting to hear about the future of animation, because Star Wars animation is amazing. Even Visions, non-canon, was fantastic.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't really throw Visions in there, so we did kind of get about Bad Batch and
excited
Visions
about that.
This year.
Maybe there's more non-canon animation. That's the route they're going to go until they find someone to take over the next canon venture. Are they going to do High Republic animated stuff? There's a lot of stuff that they're probably developing, or they're tossing ideas around that they're probably not ready to divulge yet. But they have to have somebody in line, because we know Filoni's not going to be doing animation oversight the way he used to. You clearly see that by the Bad Batch, where it was kind of this sort of handoff in a way. Maybe that's, the people developing that are the ones who are going to be.
Well, Resistance was like that too.
Keepers of the
Dave
Flame.
Dave Filoni sort of handed off Resistance. He created it and had his name on it and everything. But it was really, these other people involved in making it.
So yeah, I'm curious. That's a good question about the future of animation, to see like who's going to be heading that.
Some other things, because obviously it seems like what we're saying a lot is more. But in my opinion, the state of Star Wars, looking at where we're at now, in these 2 categories, which are books and comics, slow down. To me, it's like I want to enjoy this stuff, but it has gotten to a point for me that every month there's a new book, and I've pretty much given up on comics. Like, I want to say I'm going to catch up, but it's so at a loss. I'm so far behind on this stuff because you have like 4 issues come out every week, and that's a lot.
That's true.
That's an hour of reading every week that, you know, it piles up and piles up. Oh, I couldn't do it this week. Well, next week now I've got 2 hours of reading. And the week after that, I've got 3 hours of reading. And it's just like, now I'm way behind. And it's very expensive for the people that do it. I don't understand necessarily like what the comic industry and what the book, like publishing industry require and what they think they're benefiting from this. But in my opinion, I think if you're just up top, your big properties, your movies, your TV, and your animated show you should be working on that content and producing a lot of that content, and then every once in a while bringing in the right people to write a book that people go, oh yeah, they haven't done a book in a while, oh sweet, I'll pick that up and I'll invest in it and I'll give time into reading it. But I think now, especially even you take something like High Republic, it's great, but I think even the people who are like, you know, like everybody goes to see that first movie, but then when the sequel comes out and the third one and the fourth one and the fifth one, a lot of people are going, well, I'm not going to go see the fifth one. I didn't see the third or the fourth. Right. So I don't know how sales look, but to me, it feels like High Republic is getting to a point where the only people that I can have conversation with are the people who are also 8 books deep in it, you know, or 9 books deep. And that's why it gets overlooked a lot on the show. Like, there's a new Thrawn book coming out, or it just came out this week. And it's like, we barely even talk about it because in order to understand that, you'd have to have taken in all this other content. And it just got to a point where we're just kind of assuming people didn't. Right. So that's frustrating. It should be like a Thrawn book every 3 years or something. So you get like pumped up and excited that trilogy is going to wrap up or whatever. But I don't know. Those two things.
I'm very intimidated by the releases of those books, and that's definitely a part that deters me from diving in because it's just like so much. And I mean, I'm the type of person where if I'm reading a book, it's gonna take a couple months because it's like I'll do a couple chapters at a time when I can, put it down. Oh yeah, I have some downtime. Let me pick up the book. Yeah. If they're pumping them out this fast, it's just like I'm already way behind, and it's just like feels like a lost cause, you know. And
then just really quickly too, because I don't have a whole lot to add here, but because I don't really understand these that much, these two particular things, but because I don't know what goes into them. But like the video game aspect, I feel like we've gotten, you know, 3 major video games in 10 years. So maybe that's a lot, maybe that's not. All 3 of them have done fairly well, except for maybe Squadrons felt a little niche, like maybe it wasn't like a full fleshed out thing. Whereas Jedi Fallen Order really was, and Battlefront obviously still is. So I feel like maybe there could be more video games, but I feel like every video game that comes out around Star Wars is just like, here's a new mobile add-on, or here's like a Fortnite character that they're adding, or Galaxy of Heroes, more characters or something. And it's like, that's not really what we want. I know we're getting hunters and some other stuff, but again, all this stuff kind of feels small potatoes. You know, it doesn't feel like we're getting something worth investing in very often in the video game world. I don't know, and I don't know what else they could do with like parks or something. There's also too like YouTube stuff, like they did the Jedi Challenge, and it's like, that was cool, but that was it. It happened and it went away.
I was surprised that wasn't on Disney Plus.
It felt like that was another thing.
It was originally supposed to be, I believe.
Yeah, and then they pushed it to this free thing, but I guess, I mean, there's even an argument to be made that, I mean, they didn't even watch it when it was free, so I don't
there's
know.
A bunch of the small things like the Galaxy of Creatures, and they'll toss all that stuff every once in a while, but those aren't sustainable to me. Like, I don't think that's like, I don't think that's going to be a kid's gateway. Like my son, maybe he could pop it on and watch it for 2 minutes, but it's not going to be his gateway into Star Wars where he's like, I can't wait for season 2 of Galaxy of Creatures or whatever. And like Galaxy of Adventures, that was fun, but where did that go? That went away. These things keep coming and going. They need more sustainability on that level, especially when they're marketing to kids. But I know we don't have a ton of time left, but Lacey, are there other things, you were saying you're pumped about Boba Fett. We are in for a big year for 2022. So, do you want to close out with the positive side of things, the things that you're happy about and looking forward to? And I know Celebration is at probably close to the top of your list.
Yeah, I think the things I'm excited for most are probably Kenobi and Celebration in 2022. I think the other shows are just bonus for me, and it's one of those things that I just kind of manage my own expectations as a Star Wars fan and pick a couple things that I'm super pumped about, and then everything else that they're doing is just like, oh, this is great, this is just bonus on top of those things that I'm already looking forward to. I think Book of Boba Fett is going to surprise me. I'm going into it not being the biggest Boba Fett fan, and I never have been, but I will admit when I'm wrong, and his character has been really, really cool and awesome in The Mandalorian, and I'm interested to see where they take it in this new series. I think it's going to be fabulous from what we've seen in the trailer, and just, Tamora Morrison's done such a good job making the character his own, and I'm so excited to see Ming-Na Wen back, so I think they're just going to be really, really great together, and I'm geekily excited about all the Easter eggs we're going to see, because we're going to probably get so many in that series. I just can't wait. For next year, I think the thing I'm most excited for currently is probably Celebration. It's been a long 2 years, guys. It's been a long 2 years of just kind of like isolation and not being at events and just not being around other fans and people that like the same things that you do. And Celebration has been in my life since 2015, but in the past few years with the podcast has been even more than that. It's just been such a highlight of my life. So to have that coming back next year, when it got canceled last year, it was so sad. I completely understand why they did it, and I stand by that they made the right decision. But it was just one of those things that's like, how could things get any worse? And then that happens. But the fact that I'm going to get to see so many different new things for Star Wars and just get to geek out and celebrate with you guys, and, fans, and just go to Disney World again. I haven't been to Disney World in like forever, or Disneyland. And it's one of those things that like I used to go once a year. So it's just kind of crazy that life has changed so much in the past 2 years, but at the same time, it's like, I can't wait to get back to doing the things that I really enjoy. And I think Celebration is going to be such a highlight, and we're all going to have so much fun that it's hard not to be pumped for it. Kenobi, again, it's the only Star Wars project, surprisingly, that I've cried when it was announced. It was just such an emotional thing. I think it was my kind of living through Ewan McGregor having to sit through maybe it will happen, maybe it won't for 5 to 6 years, especially after what we learned from Solo being released and how he was there and like how their plans were underway.
Right.
To finally get to see him be so happy and be on stage and admit that, yes, it's happening, was just like such an emotional reaction as a Star Wars fan, that you're like, finally, this guy that has been fighting for this project for years and years and years and years and has had to lie and say no to all these interviewers over and over and over again. It was just so great. So I can't wait to see it. And I am a little nervous just because everybody has opinions. But at the same time, I'm so excited because I know it's something that's going to bring all of us together. And that's proof in the past week with Kenobi being trending, not just when that sizzle got leaked, but leading up to Disney Plus Day, Kenobi was trending like daily.
Yeah.
That people were pumped. So I'm just really excited to be pumped and hyped about Star Wars again.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll probably do State of Star Wars Winter, like January-ish.
After the holidays, yeah.
Yeah, in the thick of, Book of Boba Fett, so we'll be able to touch on that. And it'll probably be a much more positive edition, I would imagine, than this one. But, again, sometimes we get critical. This isn't all, just we love everything fest. But I'd like to think that when we do critique things, we do it with respect. And I think people understand that. So when they tell us that you guys are positive, I think they understand that even when there's things we disagree with, we do it in a respectful way. And I take pride in that. So
Cool.
I don't have too much more to add. I feel like we all kind of closed out on pretty good notes. But we aren't done yet. I know this is we're a little over an hour and 14 or so here, whatever the case may be. But we do. You've heard enough from us, so we hope you enjoyed the State of Star Wars discussion. But now we do want to hear from you and some of your tweets to give us a good smile to close us out here in our next segment. Lacey.
All right, guys, it's time for Resistance Transmissions. So there are lots of ways you can support us. You can like this video, comment, subscribe on YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter at RBATSWNN or on Instagram at The Resistance Broadcast. But this is the part of the show that we let the community give their thoughts and opinions and jokes. So every week, John puts up a crazy, wacky situation on Twitter, and you guys give your answers. So the scenario this week was Obi Wan Kenobi said Sith Lords are their specialty, though he was bested multiple times and ultimately killed by one. Pick another Star Wars character who could claim to be a specialist at something that they're clearly not. Okay.
Oh boy.
All right, first up is Thankful Kylo 10 at Fulcrum Indoor. What's up? They said Din Djarin is a specialist in Jedi history and philosophy. I'm just thinking of the clip from the show where he's like, does this look Jedi to you? Next is Andrew Staley at Deuce_Staley. Hey, Andrew. He said Han Solo, Rathtar smuggler. Did not go well.
No.
Next is Mark at
I think he did a good job. He got 3 of them, right?
Yeah, but you should have seen his crew before that.
They didn't get out. Somebody else released them. I think he's a good Rathtar smuggler.
Next is Mark at Kind Awakens at _Kind_Awakens, who said telling stories for another time is my specialty. Maz Kanata.
I like that one.
Next is Frank Grande at Frank Grande the Third. Hey Frank. He said Doc Ralter? Dak Ralter? Oh, Dak Ralter, a specialist at taking on the whole empire himself. I didn't recognize that last name. I felt really dumb for a second. That is hilarious. Next is Rebel Scum Texan at Rebel Scum Texan. What's up? They said Rothgar Dang. Achieving eternal life.
Blown away in Kajimi, we assume.
Yeah. Kevin Lewis is up next at Thrawn Zon Fan, and Kevin said, Grand Moff Tarkin recognizing moments of triumph is my specialty.
Yeah, that should be a book with Tarkin that says recognizing moments of triumph by Tarkin.
Yeah, next is Mello at A Grey Jedi. Hey, Mello, who said, Skywalkers, parenting is our specialty.
Oh, man. Mello's very spicy lately.
Very spicy. And last but not least is Kyle Hughes at Kyle Hughes 2307, who said, being in a Star Wars movie is my specialty. Matt Smith. Well done. All right, guys, thank you so much. If you want to be on the show, make sure to follow us on Twitter at RBATSWNN. And until next time, back to John.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching, being a part of TRB. I want to thank everyone who does support us on Patreon. At the top, I know I asked if you can support us, please do. But we do need to give a special shout out to our Patreon generals and Spice Runners. First, our generals, Carmelo, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, John Reese, Jetta Rosewater, Paul Olson, Jake Houchins, Oliver Lewis, Frank Grande, Haz Aslam, Joe Ritchie, Darth Hurricane, John Charlton, Nick Kratz, Christian Morales, Brian Smith, Matt Chitty, Joey Mayfield Stewart, Nathan Shank, and Val Trichkoff. And our Spice Runners, David Probus, Neil Shaw, Double C Chris, Kendall Gellner, Ryan Wara, Dave Hornack, Micah Harrison, and Thomas Hennessy. Thank you all for your support, and all of our patrons, and everybody who listens or watches TRB. Make sure you do subscribe to us on your preferred platforms, whether that is audio, I like Spotify, or youtube.com/Star Wars Newsnet videos. Thank you for all of your support. Please share with a friend, because 2022 is going to be very exciting, and we hope you join the party here on TRB. StarWarsNewsNet.com for all of your Star Wars news, reviews, editorials, information, and more. Johnny Hoey on Twitter, and StarWarsNewsNet.com, and my movie podcast, Just Like the Movies, audio only on that one. Lacey.
People can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Lacey Gilleran.
James.
Twitter and Instagram at Myra Chunks.
All right, that'll do it for us here. We will see you on Monday morning, maybe with Lacey. We're not sure. But we will be back to kick off Thanksgiving week with another happy, thankful episode right here on the Resistance broadcast. Till then, see you around, kids.